Good evening, one and all. Welcome along to Season 3, Episode 38 of the UK Dallas Cowboys podcast. It is not a victory pool on Monday, Tuesday. It's a very angry Tuesday with all of us here, the admin team. I'm joined tonight by Paul, Jamie, and with Rich with his iPhone fresh out of the freezer.
Joke's on you, I don't have an iPhone.
How are we all doing?
Pissed off. There's no sugarcoating it. I'm not happy how we performed at all offensively. I mean, there was some, even defensively, it just lacked that what we've seen all season from our defense all year. And yeah, it just kind of felt as though that they were running like 3 sets of plays over and over again, and it's all because of one particular player, and that was Deebo Samuel. And that was the one guy we said that's one guy we had to stop, and yet he still ran an absolute mockery on us. So I'm pretty annoyed.
Yeah. Rich, take it away.
I'm not angry. I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
Massively disappointed. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. They didn't want to win that game. They didn't want to play. They didn't want it. At least not until probably the end of the third quarter. Maybe they started to a bit. It was blatantly obvious that the 49ers were the only ones that wanted to go in there and wanted to compete, and they wanted it.
Yeah.
Simple.
And here's the final, Rich. It's like, how many chances did we need in that freaking game? Like, we'll talk about the penalties and all the decisions by referees, but when it came to the end of the game, it's like a minute 20, and we had like that 4th and 1, like that. We had the ball in our grasp. We could have went back to the end zone. We had so many chances that it went back in our favor.
Yep.
And you're just like, how can we still mess this up? That's what I'm so annoyed. That's what I'm so annoyed about with a team with what we've got. Right, mention the names. You've got Prescott, Elliott, Pollard, CD, Cooper. Like, obviously Gallup wasn't involved. Cedric Wilson was in there. Schultz was in there. Like, it's like, yeah, you know what, Rich? I am with you now. I am just extremely disappointed. I really am. And,
it's annoying because, like you said, there's so many names there. There's so much talent, but there's no drive. This team, specifically the offense, has shown that they need momentum to be able to function and to be able to roll. And if something gets in their way, they crumble. They can't generate. They also can't generate that momentum themselves. Yep. Something has to be given to them, whether it's an interception from the defense or the opposing team messes up and there's a penalty and it extends a drive. It's something. It hasn't been this season anything that they've generated, and they haven't shown any real fight for me past maybe the Patriots game. They haven't really shown any real fight. There's been no desire to win. Anyone who's done anything competitive to a decent level, and I'm not talking about crazy high levels, professional levels, anyone who's competed in anything, be it individual, be it team, and has gone and has trained for something, knows the feeling of wanting to do it. When you're competing and you want it and you can feel it in your bones and you know this is what you want and you're going to do it and no one's going to stop you. You know if you want it or not. And usually, at least in the sport I used to do, that plays a big part. And it plays a big part in a lot of sports as well, team or individual.
Dave Almond touched on it perfectly earlier on, saying that this team was good enough to be there, but it wasn't good enough to win. It just wasn't. And like Joe mentioned in his comment a minute ago, the offense has been suspect since the Denver game.
I would say the Patriots game, mate. I'll be honest. Ever since Dak got injured and missed that game and missed it, ever since he came back after the Minnesota game, it's just I don't know. Like, this is now me. I've spent the last 24 hours thinking about the season, and I'm just sitting here thinking, has that really kind of? It's not been as clinical. Like the 3 games I went to, I mean, we were like, even though we won against the Saints, but the games against Las Vegas and the games against Kansas City, it's like there wasn't really much of a fight. Like from what I could tell, we weren't really moving the ball at all, and this is like, and I'm just like,
just look at the stats as well. We had what? If you look at the stats throughout the season, we're paying Amari Cooper what, 20 million, and he had the targets. If you're paying someone $20 million a year, he's got to be your number one target. CD Lamb, not as many as you would think. I think CD Lamb is the highest targeted player. The next one after that is Dalton Schultz and Wilson. But you're paying, and like you're saying, if you look at a lot of the stuff, yeah, there's onus on the receiver to catch the ball. But where were these plays where you were throwing it up and getting CD Lamb to catch it, doing cover and stuff? You're paying these guys to make these kind of plays. Let them play these. It seemed towards the back of the season a lot like a Jason Garrett kind of at the end of the Jason Garrett era, where it was becoming very predictable, it was becoming very boring, and it was becoming really frustrating. It was the typical Cowboys. Went off to that good start, got us all hyped, got us going, had a bit of a slump, then started winning games, and it was just like, that's probably the best way. It just went like that. It reached the school to pooch at the end of the season, and the worrying thing now is this window now closed? Because we're gonna, and what I mean by that is we're not getting rid of Dak, and we're not getting rid of. I'm not saying that we should do that in terms of contract. We can get off the hook. We see it with Amari Cooper, but the O-line needs building. We're potentially looking at least one coaching change because we're going to lose offensive or defensive coordinator.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that, Jamie. Right, so the first thing I said was we need to make serious reinvestment into our offensive line. That was the first thing I said. Right, from when you break it down, Tyron Smith cannot play 17 games a season. He cannot.
Nope, he can barely play 10.
He can barely play 10. Right. Lyle Collins cannot be trusted on the other side of the line. He cannot be trusted outside the football. And I mean, as good as he can be, but he has been kind of being hot and cold this year. The only player is really worth mentioning is Zach Martin. Like, obviously he's went all pro, but what I'm going to do, I am going to rip to bloody shreds, and it's the Mr. Penalty Killer that is Connor Williams, and I am so glad that he is going to that's his end of his contract, because if honestly, I think pretty much Cowboys Nation will be an outrage if he gets re-signed. If he does, I don't like. If he does, I don't know what the hell. But when it comes to we're talking about when the general consensus here, Jamie, like in terms of the offense, it's down to our offensive coordinator to set out the plays that plays favor to our players, and basically what the players are doing are not working for the players that we have. Like, and as much as I hate to admit this, right? See if you had like the Jason Garrett, Stuart Linehan year where you're under Tony Romo, he was throwing these deep balls left, right, and center to like Des Bryant. That's what we're missing. And these players are designed for that, especially Cooper. He is designed for the deep ball.
Do you know what? I'm glad you said it, like saying, not to keep referring back, but Dave, I want to mention it again on the break today. Look at teams like the Niners. They put plays in to get the ball into Deebo Samuel's hands. The Vikings did the same with Jefferson. I know he's not been the Rams perfect thing. The Rams did everything to get the ball in Cooper Kupp's hands. The Cowboys didn't do that. The Cowboys didn't think outside the box. The Cowboys played it safe. They played it conservative. You pay in your what stack is it? 50-odd million a year. Let him air it out. If he throws interceptions, he throws interceptions. Let him air it out. This team has been non-existent and has been irrelevant.
I'm telling you, Jamie.
There's no way out of it.
I tell you what, Jamie, and it kind of goes back to another word I mentioned earlier on this season, and I think again it's communication. Like there's seriously lack of communication between quarterback and receivers. 100%. Like there's been routes where like the ball may have been overthrown, or like Dak expected. Like I can't remember what play it was, but basically it was actually thrown back behind Cedric Wilson. That's a communication part. Maybe like Cedric Wilson take the slant too soon or whatever. Maybe not doing the playbook. Like there could be many factors to this. There could be the fact that Kellen's more playbook could be very that complex, rather being 5 steps then you slant or 5 steps you go the deep route, whatever. Like it could be so many different factors towards this, and it clearly does not work. So. And
just playing devil advocate here, and I'm not for one instance saying that I don't think he is, but just going from comments that was on our social media pages after the game and building up through this week so far, is Dak the quarterback that we all think he is? Are we just overhyping him?
No,
depends what people think he is.
Yeah,
people say he's not the guy that can lead us forward. Some people say he's not a top end quarterback.
That's debatable.
I was just going through some of the stuff I said.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I like Dak. I'm just playing devil advocate because we're obviously.
I'll still say Dak is still going to be the face of the franchise regardless, right?
Yeah.
But I think under the right coach, he can be elite. That's what I'll say. Like under the right scheme, under the right coach, he can be elite.
Yeah.
Under this whole Kellen Moore try and play college football playbook, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
I don't
like. I think you're making a good point, Paul. And like for me, it factors into two things. And we're going to talk about this in depth once we kind of get into the game itself. But people at the weekend wanted to blame Dak Prescott. They want to blame Ezekiel Elliott. And a lot of what the problems are start where the ball comes from, which is the offensive line. And we're going to go deep on the offensive line because all 4 of us are pissed off with how that went on Sunday. But as we, look, it's a 23-17 loss at AT&T. We're out in the wild card round. And I think for me, the abiding feeling coming out of that was utter frustration. Because if you look at it, we had chances. We had chances we didn't deserve in that game.
How the hell we managed to stay in the game is beyond me. That's the shocking part. Like, even though I was getting really excited, it's like, oh, there's a chance. Have faith, beef. Like I'm that's what I was kind of thinking. Like, have faith, we can do it. But after that game was over, I'm just sitting there contemplating. I'm like, and me and you spoke till about 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah,
like messaging away, just like kind of dissecting it, and we were just like, that was just absolutely god awful. Like taking a step back and reassessing what just happened. It was awful.
Yeah.
The worst thing to come out of it is that we can't even really build on where things are in some aspects. Just for the fact, I think we've got 22 free agents. We're going to lose half, if not three-quarters of them. It's going to be a completely different team next year. So it's just it's so frustrating because we just don't know where how to this turn out. Like I say, how can a team that is so in the public eye and so revered, loved or hated, however you want to say it, it's been pretty much irrelevant since the 90s. When is this going to end?
Yeah, but
I think was the stat going out there that since our last Super Bowl our last Super Bowl win, I think the Cowboys have won something like 3 playoff games in 20 years, and teams like the Jags, even quarterbacks like Trent Dilfer has won more playoff games in the last 20 years than the Cowboys as a fucking whole. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Look, before we get too far into the weeds, look, we'll and dissect the game. Let's just try and get into the news, because there have been a few things coming out, and then we'll jump into the game. So, as you can see there, so obviously we've exited in the wild card round. We now hold the 24th pick in the draft. We have 23 players heading to free agency, including all of the 2018 draft class who are still with the team. And we've signed 13 players to reserves or future contracts. And Denver have flown into Dallas to interview both Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore. And they are being requested for multiple of head coaching vacancies. So, lads, take it away there amongst yourselves, whatever you want to talk about.
I think is Dan Quinn got 4 interviews this week? I think he's got 2 today, hasn't he? He's Jackson and Denver today. But I think the most positive thing out of all that is, and we touched on it before we went on air, was the Alacron signing. He looked great in Hard Knocks. Is he going to get a starting position next year? Who knows? But have we got all else to lose, really? With the shit we had to put with on the defensive line this year?
For me, like, I just try and keep Dan Quinn by any means. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just
you know, I think I touched on it on Thursday and thought they would both come back, but as time's gone, I can't see it. The out of them both, it's probably going to be Dan Quinn that goes, isn't it? Because
I know
if you offer him the head coach's job, but then you're taking not disrespecting Dan Quinn, but then are you taking 2 steps back because you're admitting defeat and that Mike McCarthy was the wrong, and then you've got to rebuild your squad again.
I think I don't know if we're thinking too beyond that thought process. I don't know, but one thing I will say is if Kellen Moore's here next season, he's going to be really under fire from all the fans, regardless. If he's here next season, he needs to drastically improve and actually play to the strengths of our actual players rather than his actual way of offense.
But then the one thing is, who do you bring in as a defensive coordinator? And then if you give it to Dan Quinn, what do you do, defensive coordinator?
Yeah.
You bring in Zimmer. Do you promote? Do you know what I mean? The guy who we all love over this side of the pond. Do you know what I mean? Who's flying the flag?
Too early. I think it's too early for it.
So what do you do? It's like it's one of them things. Like it's at 6 of one and a half does another, in it. You damn if you damn if you not.
Here's another one as well. Speaking while we're talking about coaches, I know this is still news and updates, but what about our offensive lineman coach? He deserves a lot of, get him shot. Like I've never seen a lackluster physical offensive line for Dallas in the past 10 years at least. I'm speechless, man. I really am. I'm speechless.
Yeah. I have a good fact for you to talk for the offensive line when we come back. Come back to that during the game just to make a comparison, because we did talk a lot in the group about the difference between 2016 and this season. So just remind me on that one.
I'll remind you because I got some stuff for it as well.
Yeah. But I mean, look, 23 players headed to free agency.
Brian, bring up the comment that DJ Dog just posted there. He makes a fantastic. Yes.
Right, yeah.
So bad thing is, Quinn gets a head coaching job. Guys like Chaos and Hooker go to his new team for bigger contracts. That is very possible. Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because we want to try and keep these guys, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because this has probably been one of the best defenses we've had. I don't know since when,
Yeah,
in a long time.
Like, I mean, we've had two defensive players, and I don't care what anyone says about Trayvon Diggs. We've had two defensive players go to the All-Pro this year, first team All-Pro. I can't remember the last time that happened. Like, we've had Sean Lee be an All-Pro. DeMarcus Ware was a perennial Pro Bowler, All-Pro. But we haven't had two at the same time, I think, since the 90s.
Yeah.
I get, like you're saying, sometimes I think you live in the hype, don't you, when the season's going on? But then, it was all, the interceptions were good. But then just you break down the other stats, and he was down, and Trayvon Diggs was down near the bottom in terms of yards allowed and touchdowns, and it's like, which would you rather have? They sacrificed the interceptions for less yards and less touchdowns.
Yeah. But you've got, again, Jamie, I think in defensive Diggs, and like I went hard on some of the guys from PFF about this, and I got, like, my Twitter blew up for the last 2 days with the amount of interactions I've had. Diggs he gives up plays, but we've cried out consistently for years about having someone get more than three interceptions a year. Trayvon Diggs this season got more interceptions than our whole team last year.
Oh yeah,
we gave out about Byron Jones never getting interceptions. So, you know, which do you want? Do you want someone who can impact the game, or do you want someone who can just lock down one side of the field and it goes the other side?
Yeah, the only reason I mention it is I'm just, like I say, we've had now time to reflect. I suppose this is a good thing that we didn't do a show Sunday night, maybe. I think it. So we've got, and now it's just kind of, because this is going to be more of a ranting show. I think it's just throwing ideas out there and just letting us all get off his chest and see what options that everyone thinks, isn't it?
Don't forget, like, the rest of the team have been actual playmakers as well. Like strip sacks galore. There's been interceptions from Anthony Brown. There's, like, I'm just trying to think with names at the top of my head. Like, I can't even recall how many he's had this season. I think he's had over 2 at least. Anthony Brown
interceptions.
Yes,
I think he's at 4 or 5.
So there you go. It just sort of shows, like, the impact overall and the mentality. Like so Dan Quinn has put this, like, it's affected the mentality of the offense. We just need someone to bring that same mentality to the offense, right? And that is see ball, get ball, that type of mentality. But when it comes to the offense, it's just ram it down their throats. And that's one thing we completely lacked off this whole year, is ramming defensive players, put them on their backs. I don't even recall seeing any of our O-line pancaking anyone this year. I can't even. I don't even think
it did happen a few times. It happened a few times, but not a great deal.
Not as much as we would expect. Put it that way.
No.
So
it just sucks big time because we screwed the pooch massively.
Yeah.
Thinking we were going to get to that, and now we've got a shit spot in the draft.
Yeah.
I would not, Jamie. There's no such thing as a shit spot in the draft. There's no.
No, I get it from that. But yeah, it's like if
anything, it helps us in the cap for sure.
Yeah, it helps us in the cap, and then I suppose anyway, it now
compared to a top 10,
it goes to that thing now where it's definitely more. Whereas you would probably go best player available, but you've got more options if you're higher up the draft. But now it's things to fall into place and things to drop down, kind of thing, aren't you?
Yeah, because we're seeing a couple of the comments and saying that it needs to be a left guard. It's like, I totally agree. If there's a first round talent that is worthy of that position, best player available, yes, we better pick him. But if there's no, like, and Brian, you're probably the best person to ask this, but at least, like, if there's no left guard talent worth, you don't want to overreach. You might want to trade back down, get more picks, get more cheaper for your buck, like we did earlier, and like get play and stuff like that. So that's what I'm kind of thinking. If there's no left guard there, it's worth taking at number 24. The best thing to do is probably trade down.
Yeah, absolutely. I just seen a comment here from Joe, and we did talk at length in the group about this. He's lost a bit of confidence in Dak's ability to read defense. We will come back to this, Joe, because we did kind of talk about this amongst ourselves earlier today. So, did Sunday, and Joe's bringing up a point here on Randy Gregory.
Oh no! Randy will get re-signed.
Yeah.
He will. He will. Like
Jerry's not put that much into him and kept him.
I'll be like just for Randy's sake. I think the moment got to him in that situation. Like that's his first ever playoff game since he's been with the Cowboys. Like that was him wanting to really try and make an impact, but he was actually, I think the nerves really got to him, and he just ended up making more mistakes.
That comment from the dog is perfect. I blasted about this all off season. If I'm right, he did not allow one sack at Alabama.
Creed Humphrey went to Oklahoma.
No, but Oklahoma. Sorry, Oklahoma. He didn't allow one sack. Sorry, wrong call.
You're thinking of. I think his name was Tony Brown. He was a left guard. Yourself and Rich were talking about. He went 4th or 5th round in the end. Creed Humphrey was Oklahoma.
Yeah, Roll Tide is right. Wrong uni, but the stat was still the same.
But look, as I say, nearly half an hour in, so let's try and jump and talk.
Right, everybody, prepare to tighten those butts. Now we've got a shitload to talk about.
This is going to take quite a significant amount of time, and I think the only place we all want to start, and I'm going to throw it over to you, Rich, because I know you have stats written down. So, Rich Jones, take it away, my friend.
Your roll line shit. Simple as.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of today, don't tell my boss, reading up on a lot of stuff, looking at a lot of stuff, having conversations with.
I'm on it as well, dog.
Right on that bandwagon. Yeah. Having conversations with a load of people on Twitter. There's been some good points made. Both about Dak and in terms of the offensive line. The easiest way I find to make this point is if you look at this team, this is probably, I think anyone out there can agree, and I think it's hard to get everyone to agree to anything, but I think it's easily to get people to agree that this is probably the best offense the Cowboys have had since 2016. It's certainly the best record they've had since 2016. Make of that what you will in terms of the ease of the schedule, but regardless, in terms of the talent, how good they are, the execution they have actually had, the amount of people on this roster, they are good. Talent-wise, in terms of the skill positions at least, on offense, if you go back to 2016, you look at, and this is a genuine task for anyone, right? Go on Google, find the yearly reviews for 2016 through to this year. And the trend becomes glaringly obvious, is the O-line has been in decline. Which is exactly what Graham and I have noticed over the past couple of years. Which is why we keep saying, for the past 3 years, and Steve has been saying as well, why we've been saying for the past 3 years, you need to start investing in the O-line because it is in decline. It was glaringly obvious after 2017 and 2018. And then 2019 again, it was even more so. They've lost players steadily. And the people that have lost have been really good guys, and they haven't had good guys in off the back of them to shore that up. It has been in massive decline ever since. 2016, they ran over everyone in this league. The only person that undid them was Aaron Rodgers, and that was only fucking just. I mean only just. Dak Prescott got let down for a catch of a ball for going downfield in a 2-minute drill and beating him, putting him away with a touchdown and going up and putting it out of his reach. 2017, they were inconsistent. They couldn't run the ball as much. They weren't as dominant. And it continues down the line. They've not been as dominant at the line of scrimmage. And since I said this at the start of the season, since Travis Frederick went out, they haven't, that's exacerbated the situation. It's fast-forwarded it. They haven't got the quality there. The best person they have there is Zach Martin. Lyle Collins is playing out of fucking position for a start. which, okay, he could get away with it, but since the injury, he's not been able to do it. This line has declined in athleticism, which is where they excelled at because it enabled them to both run in the zone or on man. And they haven't been able to do that because they haven't got the personnel to do it. The only person they could do that is Zach Martin. Before, you had, in 2016 specifically, you had Zach Martin, a right guard, you had Travis Frederick in the center, and for the life of me now, because I'm on around, I can't remember who the right tackle was, but he was damn good.
Was it
Every
Doug Free?
time.
No, Doug Free.
Yeah, there you are, Doug Free.
No,
Doug
it was
Free at right tackle.
it was Doug Free
Doug Free.
He was the tackle. I'm trying to remember who was the left guard.
No, right, yeah, but that's the left guard.
Ron Leary.
No. The left guard wasn't Ron Leary in 2016.
It was Ron Leary to start, and then it was
Lyle Collins at left guard. And he hasn't played as impactfully since. Lyle Collins is and has been out of position. He's not athletic enough to play out there, especially after his injury. You need to get him back inside where he belongs at left guard. If you do that, you go back to and you draft a good center. You at least have a core 3 people in the middle. Because what they had before, whenever Zeke wanted to run the ball, they did really well. They dink and dunked and they moved and they could run over everyone in this league. They gained the short yards. And when people stacked the box, they could still get people free. They could get Cole Beasley free and a couple of other people's as well. You've got players that can do that on this roster right now. You can do that. Schultz can do that. Jarman can do that. Land can do that. Coop can do that. You've got the personnel to do it, but you haven't got the personnel to do it at the line. You can't run the ball. They're going to rush for, they're going to drop everyone else, and that's when you're going to have snags. But before, you could line Zeke up behind, he could run behind Frederick and Zach Martin, and that was it. You move the ball down to the end zone, they convert, and they were the best in the league at it. And you can't stop them scoring. Once they're in there, they're going to fucking score. You can't do that now. If you shore up the center with an athletic center who's got the smarts, so basically you find another Travis Frederick, which is fucking hard, but you find someone of that ilk, at least someone athletic, that can shore up. You've then got Zach Martin and Lyle Collins, who hopefully sits well at left guard. Now, hopefully he does well, but you've got to take that chance. But then you need a right tackle and a left tackle. And I think you realistically, reasonably, you keep Steele.
Yeah, I've just something to add what you're just saying, Rich. Where it comes to the point where if the running back cannot get beyond the line of scrimmage, that is not on the running back. That is on the offensive line.
Yeah,
that's a simple fact. And a lot of people are criticizing the running backs, which I think is extremely unfair, right? Like, and I know we're talking about O-line, but I just want to say is like it's been an unfair criticism both on Zeke, who we just found out has had a PCL injury pretty much all season. So there's that. So and obviously with Pollard, he's more that different type of running back. When you've got your powerhouse running back who's designed to run and actually smash players going upfield, if the gaps are not there to be open, he's not going to get space to make his drive to smash these linebackers into a new dimension. It's not going to happen.
Exactly.
So
you want to get Zeke to the second level. You want to get him past the lineman because he can go through linebackers and he can go through safeties, which is exactly what people want to do. They want to rush forward, they want to drop 7, and they want to leave their linebackers and their safeties, have them forward to tackle the run because they're confident you can't do it. If you can move the run around and you can get Zeke free or Pollard around, who's more agile, and he can physically avoid them, then they're going to have to respect the run more, which opens things up at the back. But this is why they've been doing it. This is why teams, and this is part of the problem that people have identified, obviously, after the Denver game. The double block made double block made you love Zeke more because that shows what he's saying. We'll come on to that when we come on to running backs a bit more.
I know, but what I will say about that is like the fact that Zeke was pretty much our best pass protection throughout that whole game. That says it all.
Yeah.
That says it all.
100% he was. And we'll come back. I'll come back to that later. But specifically, what the problem is here is you can't run the ball well. If you can't run the ball well, they're not going to respect it. After the Denver game, they started playing zone because they realized you couldn't run the ball. They don't have to stack the box because they can handle you with the guys up front and get pressure. Because not only can you not rush the ball, you can't protect Dak well enough. So not only can you not run the ball, they're dropping people back, you also can't protect him long enough for routes to develop, for the likes of Coop to work free, for the likes of Lamb to work free, for the likes of Gallup to work free, for Schultz to work free. All these guys have shown, 4 people have shown they can work themselves free. They can get separation. But they need a bit more time than a couple of frickin' seconds. But if you've got Tyron Smith letting people through all frickin' night, they're leaking from the left, they're leaking from the right, they're leaking from the middle. There's nowhere for him to go. He can't hold on to the ball to let the plays develop. He can't pass it short because Zeke's dropping passes here, there, and everywhere. And they're covering things up front because they are bringing some guys forward because then that's the only extra thing they got to do because you can't run it and you haven't got time to pass it deep because plays haven't got time to develop. It's easy to defend. No wonder they were smashed out. And yet, and this is the good thing to take from it, they were still only 6 points down.
Yeah. Jamie, I know you've been itching to come in there, so...
Well, I'm just going to say, I love how Rich went on a rant about it, because I think if you flick back to the earlier episodes of this season, we all pretty much said, and this is what is frustrating, that the coaches know a lot more than us, but it's why would it never even considered or even tried, especially when they kept on flicking back and the Colin Williams bit didn't work and McGovern didn't work, and it's like, well, why keep going back when it didn't work the first time? It's not going to work the second time. It's not going to work the third time. And we said when Lyle Collins come back off his injury, Steele was playing great at right tackle, leave him there, put Collins into left guard because it'll beef it up a bit. And just to go back to the Linderbaum comment, I'm on the bandwagon with you all, but we're just not going to get him unless you're going to have to go into the top 10 to get him.
Yeah,
and that's the only thing.
Which they need to do.
Oh yeah, no,
this is the point, and this is the bit that really annoys me about the whole thing, because this line has been in decline since 2016, since 2017, let's say, because that's the season after it was identified as a problem. That's fair. Now, yes, I can understand how, and I'm not trying to sit here and say I was right, but the writing has been on the wall, and it's been getting worse and getting worse. And like I said, after Travis Frederick left, that was your red flag. But they still haven't done anything enough to address it. Now, yes, they took a guy as a centre. You've got to give him some time to develop. Okay, fair enough. It's not working. You need to move on now. During that time, you've now got other problems on the line that also need addressing. Now, you haven't done a good enough job. The front office showed when they very first started, when, what's his name, first came in, I can't remember his name now.
Will McClay
first came in, he addressed the O-line. And since then, initially, the O-line was brilliantly done in his first couple of years, getting that O-line sorted. And then a running back. It's been in decline ever since. They've let it go. And now, yes, they've had other problems and other things they need to address. But you can't just ignore that. But they've left it. Like I said, last year and the year before, they're going to leave this until it becomes a big problem. And then you're probably in a situation where you need to replace multiple people. You can't do that in the draft. Sod's law, they're going to have to trade up to even get one, which is exactly the situation we're in now. So now you're looking at trading, which is never a good thing to do for linemen.
Yeah. I'm going to make one point and I'll throw it back across to Paul, because I know you want to come in with something. But if you look at the Kansas City Chiefs last year, right? They knew they had issues on their line. They went out this year, or in 2021, got aggressive in free agency with their first-round pick and made that a strength again. And the Cowboys need to do that. But Paul, I'll throw it over to you.
Exactly.
When it comes to the whole draft, and we're talking like some Bayadish and stuff like that, like, if there's one thing that we're still failing to even talk about, the O-line, how they've been coached this year.
Yep.
Like,
I haven't gotten there yet.
Like, so for me, like, it's just too soft, way too soft. Like, we're not seeing the the ferociousness of these offensive linemen. Like, and I think that's what's kind of playing. And the part is a lot more thinking up here where it should be do your job. If you know the play, you have your assignment. Like, there's been situations where there's been confusion on the line where we've actually had our own meme of Biadish blocking Connor Williams, or sorry, Connor McGovern, sorry, at one point. You know what I mean? Like, there's been the wrong double team blocks, and that's opened up the A gaps. You know what I mean? So there's and that is down to, and if there's anyone to be responsible as well as the players, as the offensive lineman coach and also Kellen Moore. So, and why is that not being, and then why is this, and let's talk about the fucking mistakes here. Like, I know we can go and talk about the O-line and the penalties for this game, but, and I'm gonna be bashing Connor Williams all night tonight, and rightly so. Like, how many times this year I see pretty much cost us like massive yardage gains, and it has to go back for 10 yards. How many times this year? Right, he did it twice against the Patriots, a game that we had to fight teeth and nail to win that game as a comeback. Like, and I don't know how many he did it. I think he did it against the Bucks. He did it against Kansas City multiple times. He did it against the Saints. He did it against Denver. Like the list goes on. All these like momentous plays that you think, 45 yards down the line, that's a momentum boost. Nah, offensive holding, number 52. Come on, you know, like that. I'm sorry, but like, and Andy just made the comment there. He is the most penalized player in the league, I think, and it's like, for an offensive lineman, it's like, if you're holding, work on your technique. Like, if the guy's going beyond past your waistline, that's when you know you have to let go of his bloody jersey at least. Like if you feels like you're gonna lose the fight, it's like reposition yourself so your chest plate is more engaged with it, so it doesn't look like it's holding anymore. Like, say, like if you're engaged like that, if your hands start moving out to the sides, like so, that is regarded as holding. Like, if it looks as though that you're actually like struggling to keep it within the center of your body alignment, that's regarded as holding. And if Connor Wells has been in the league for what, 4 years now, and he still hasn't managed to resolve that yet, get him out of here. I would personally go up. I would pay my own. I would love to pay, like, if I can get all expenses paid, get over to the Star myself and escort Connor Williams out the Star myself. I've had enough of him. Get him out.
Yeah. Like, I think there's one point, and I'll throw it back to you, Jamie. One of the things this season that has happened, we went from Connor Williams to Connor McGovern and back to Connor Williams, which shows the 2019 draft when we drafted Connor McGovern. And he's 3 years in the league, and he will be a free agent next year, and we still don't know what to do with him. But of all our linemen in the past 3 drafts, our best O-line man that we've picked up is Terrence Steele, who was undrafted. But the point I want to make, and this kind of feeds into what Rich says, and I know, Paul, you think this, and Jamie, I'm sure you think it as well. There's no attitude or dog in these guys. Whereas when you look at the guys we went for in the draft this year, Mike Parsons, Kelvin Joseph, also Diggy Zua, Chauncey Golston, they all have attitude and desire, and we don't have that on the O-line.
Well, here's the thing, right? Like, even though we drafted Josh Ball, you could he's not even seen the fucking field this year.
He's been injured.
He's been injured, but
yeah, he was injured all year.
But if there's one, and I'm gonna give, like, I never thought I would do this, but I would give Josh Ball some positive tendencies. He does have that dog mentality. He wants to go in there and smash people in the face. That's it. Like, I want your Mark Tuine's, I want your Step Nostries, I want your
Kevin Grogan.
Perfect. Kevin Grogan. There you go. We don't have that anymore. We don't have guys with absolute sheer animosity that wants to put you on your ass every single play and wants to make you give up. We don't have that anymore. This is what is so freaking frustrating. It's like,
Yeah.
like the players that we do have, like with Tyron Smith, he does have it still, but by doing that, he's going to end up getting injured. No.
Yeah.
Right, and
like Paul, you've met Travis Frederick, and I think he's one of the nicest people you could ever meet in football. But
absolutely.
my God, he was an absolute killer on the field.
It's the same with Sack. I've
you
met
have that attitude or not?
I've met Sack and I've met Travis. I've met both of them. Like outside of football, they're fantastic guys. Great conversations with them and that. Very well spoken, very, very intelligent individuals. But see, when it comes to Larry Allen, Eric Williams,
Eric Williams, Jesus, what a name! But go on, Paul.
But when it comes to the football field and when it comes to training, they're all about business. They're in there to do their jobs. They know exactly what they're doing. We saw that from Zach Martin. Like the only guy in this line all season is actually being consistent. That's why he's all pro. Not just because of previous history, because he's been in the Pro Bowl pretty much every season he's been in the NFL. It's got nothing to do with that. Like you would think Tyron Smith would have made the Pro Bowl this year. No, he didn't.
He made the Pro Bowl. He's not all pro.
Sorry, that's what I mean. He's not all pro.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, no, he's not. No, didn't deserve to.
Here's the thing. I don't think he does. Well, here's the. Oh, sorry. Let me rephrase it. He doesn't deserve to be in the Pro Bowl.
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
But yeah, I'm just like so frustrated. Like,
I would not be upset if Tyron Smith retired this offseason. I think it's probably for the best. I think he needs to quit while he's ahead because the injuries he's going to pick up are only going to be worse from here on out. They're going to linger more. At the end of the day, this line is aging. Injuries are going to happen more. He is not going to play more games than he already is. You need to be having your best 5 guys on the field all time. But a part of having those best 5 guys on the field all the time is the guys that are available all the time. And I'm not going to lambast a guy for being injured, but at the end of the day, if you're not available to play a full season or even half a season at your respective position, you're not much good. If you don't rock up in time for the race, you don't run the race. You can't be. You can be the best in the world, but if you're not there, you're not there. And at the end of the day, the 3 things that this line is lacking as a whole are the 3 things you really need in an offensive line. You need desire, you need discipline, and I can't remember what the third one was. It began with a P, and I've fucking forgotten it. No, it began with a P, and I'm so pissed off that I've forgotten it.
But Rich, I want to say though, you just mentioned best 5 players. Here's the thing: this whole season, we've not actually had our best 5 players in that O-line in their retrospective positions all year. It's been an absolutely shuffle. But the lineup that we've been wanting never happened at all this year. Like, and I goes to having Lyle Collins at left guard. It's like, and I don't know if that's just down to the coaches having that pride and not willing to accept the fact that they made a mistake. But like they tried to experiment, putting what was it? Connor Williams playing at bloody centre during preseason training. Come on, that is just an absolute pile of shit.
They were trying to bleed as much out of the nickname of the Great Wall of Dallas come to for as long as they could. They plugged and played. We got found out, and essentially we ended up getting the shit beat for it because like you said, you can't think, can you? You can't just plug it and hope it works out. Especially with the players we've got, like you say, you've got to give Dak time to let players develop before he sends it all out.
Yeah,
you've got to give Zeke enough time to be able to let holes develop. It's just you can't just plug and play it like you're saying. And this offensive line, I know we're still trying to we've got to go. It's been declining for years, and like you say, I know it's like you say that the draft's a lottery, but don't draft a guy in the 5th, 6th round thinking, you know what, this guy might be able to take over Travis Frederick. No one's going to be able to replace Travis Frederick, but you go for the best guy available to be able to do that. Not someone that you can hope you can just kind of let him feel his way in. Not with, you do that if you're rebuilding a team. This team's not in rebuild mode. This team's in win down mode. This team needed a centre to be at a high all pro level if you want to go for it. To keep us going, you just can't have a plug and play centre or a plug and play guard and hope that we get away with it. Because
sorry, Jamie, but I think left guard's more of a priority than centre. I don't know.
I mean, like you can't just plug it and play and hope it works and say like if you're in a rebuild mode, you can probably do that and say right, well, let's try and plug it at left guard and let's see if it works for a season or two, because it's going to take us 3-4 seasons to build this team back up. Okay. And we just we're in win mode now, and we got found out.
Yeah, I mean, well, ladies and gentlemen who's watching the show, apologies with the language that's been spoken tonight. It's just this just shows how annoyed. And Jamie as well, like he was really annoyed, and we made some tweets that we should never posted and stuff like that. Like, so apologies from everybody here at UK Cowboys fans. So, but we just want we're just passionate Cowboys fans, and we just want the best for our team. But sometimes emotions get over the head of us there. So, and as you guys are here commenting on the show, we can completely understand the frustration that's going on right now.
Yeah.
So, question there, Paul, just a quick one. You want to go left guard. Are you happy leaving Lyle Collins at right tackle? Honestly.
I don't want him at right tackle. I don't want him now. I like after his whole escapade of outside the football, I would cut him loose, if I'm being perfectly honest.
No. Not forget the outside of football stuff. On the football field. Are you happy having Lyle Collins at right tackle?
No.
Okay. So why don't we utilize a guy that we know is good, but is not necessarily great at that position? Move him to left guard. Put players in positions where they're going to have success. And this is one of my bugbears with this offense, and specifically with Kellen Moore. And I got even more annoyed with it after Zeke came out and said what he said.
Yep.
In that he's been dealing with this PCL injury for a long time. So then why the heck, if he's effectively just been out there as a blocker, for the better way of putting it, for a long time, were they handing him off the ball and not giving more carries to Tony Pollard? Specifically when it's on film, Mike McCarthy turning around and saying to people, we want to limit how many carries Zeke has this season. He's got a lot of mileage on him. We want to be saving him for the postseason. For when it matters most. Understandable, valid point. But you didn't do it. You had a plan. You didn't execute it. So why the heck didn't Tony Pollard have more freaking carries? Because he should have been having more. And I'm not saying it because he's better. He's not necessarily better than Zeke. He is different to Zeke. They have a good 1-2 punch at running back.
Yes.
They haven't used that second punch. The first one has been diminished. They haven't utilized the second one well enough, either in running or in the short passing game. It's ridiculous.
It just showed at the weekend how poor the running game effectively going down to the postseason. I think what was it? We rushed for 77 yards. And the longest run we had at the weekend was a 17-yard scramble from Dak. So that meant that the rest of the running backs got 60 yards. That's not good enough for the postseason. It's not good enough for the regular season.
It's just not good enough. It's not good enough for a preseason game. It's just flat out not good enough. They went in the Hulk package, put extra linemen in there.
Yeah,
they're struggling to get a run game going. You did it once.
Yeah, we had 7.
Why not do that more?
We actually had 7 linemen on 1 or 2 plays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's 1 or 2. Why don't you do that more? Yes, it's a case of, okay, it's blatantly obvious what you're trying to do, but then you're harkening back to 2016 of everyone knows you're going to run it down their throats. That's fine, as long as you can do it. But if you've got 7 offensive linemen in there, you better be able to run it down their throat.
Yeah.
And they had success with it. That was the best bit. And then they didn't come back to it. And this is going back to my big bugbear with Kellen Moore. They haven't executed plans. He's gone away. He's been a magpie and tried to go for the shiny stuff. Because as Brian highlighted earlier today, the way he wants to do things, he wants to go for the shiny, big, splashy plays down the field. And that's all well and good. But if people are getting to you and they're covering it and you can't get the ball down the field because you can't get the protection, what the hell is the point? You can't do anything. And you can't run the ball either.
It's ridiculous. Here's the thing about sorry, Jamie. Here's the thing about that comment there. It's like that could be used as disguise. That is you making defenses think that you're gonna run the ball. That I can understand. You need to think of options when you're doing these packages for run games. It's like make defenses think, are they gonna run the ball?
Yeah.
Are they gonna pass the ball? You always need to keep them second guessing. Agree. Sorry, Jamie. On you go, mate.
No,
go on, Jamie.
100% we do.
Even the way that he was executing the running plays didn't breed confidence. Look, how many times they tried to run it through the gap and it didn't work. And then look at the odd time they bounced it out to the outside and it worked perfect. Why? Well, if it's not working running up the middle but it's working going outside, why not keep stick like you say what's working? Don't change it. If your run game's working perfectly and getting you the yards on the outside, keep it to the outside bloody side.
Well, part of the problem there is you're getting manhandled at the line of scrimmage and the ends at managing to turn you guys back inside where they can get handled by your interior linemen, and then you guys have only your linebackers and your safeties have only got to cover one zone out of the 5 that are there. You're not even getting that far. Shit, you're not getting past the line of scrimmage. You're not even getting to that point. But this is where I'm not going to be upset. I'm on the fence about Kellen Moore. I really, really am. I am bang on the fence because he needs to either get replaced by someone who will actually call a balanced game and call a game to put the players in the best positions to have success across the board, or he needs to pull his finger out his ass and start doing it. He needs to get some more patience and manage to be okay with moving the ball, let Dak do his thing, make instinctual plays, move the chains, and then score in the red zone. But you need to have a decent run game to be able to do that. You at least need to have a physical line, a dominant line, to be able to do that. But so far, he hasn't shown he can get his offensive pieces. He can't get his pieces in the right place on the chessboard because Lyle Collins is playing at right tackle, not left guard. Tony Pollard is not getting enough touches. Zeke, when he has been healthy, has not been getting the blocking lanes he needs. What else we got? Wilson isn't being sent deep enough. Lamb has had his issues here. I think he's had a bit of a second-year slump. He's dropped a lot of passes. But he's able to do a lot more underneath than you necessarily have given him the opportunity to.
Yeah.
Lots of people are not being put in the best position to give them and this team success. The way this team will get success and has shown it gets success and rips people apart in the way it has this season is when they've been able to run the ball because, they're playing the bad teams. They can run the ball against the bad teams. When they do, when you're running the RPO, it stretches things out, and then you can start bombing it down the field. Then you can get all the crazy stuff involved. But you have to be able to move the chains and dominate things up front and handle those guys to draw them in to be able to get stuff even in the middle, let alone further downfield. Or just protect Dak long enough. If you're not going to invest in the run game, just protect Dak long enough to people to get open. Because he can do that. People think Dak can't throw deep. He's shown he can.
How much this then falls onto Mike McCarthy? Yeah, he lets Dan go in and he lets Kellen Moore call the plays. But essentially, he's the guy that obviously said, okay, is on the so
I don't think he's been involved anywhere near enough.
But that's what I mean. So he needs to. He should be. At the end of the day,
but
it's his ass on the line, isn't it?
Here's a point I'll make, Jamie. Right, and this was on where they had the fake punt and they left the punting team out on the pitch. If Kellen Moore and on the last rush that Dak made, if Kellen Moore wants to be a head coach, he needs to fucking sharpen his mind up. And apologies, folks, that was me letting go there. But he needs to step up and say, "This is the play call. I'm calling the offense," and do it. He didn't step up for those things. But one of the points, I had a point and I want to come back to this on the offensive line. So I looked at our 2016 offensive line. So Tyron, 6'5", 320 pounds. Ron Leary, 6'3", 320. Travis Frederick, 6'4", 320. Zach Martin, 6'4", 315. And Doug Free, 6'6", 318. And you'd Lyle Collins, 6'4", 320. Every one of our linemen was over 300 pounds. They were big guys. They had sand in their pants. And as Paul will say and allude to, is if you've that sand in your pants, you're not going to get pushed back as easily. Biadish is light. I was stunned when I saw he's 318 pounds. He couldn't be. He looked smaller than every one of our linemen. Connor Williams is under 300 pounds. So they need to boost that O-line with sand in their pants, that they cannot be penalised like that because they're getting pushed back too easily.
But they also need people who are athletic.
Sorry, I think as a little bit of reminiscence, I think we touched on this at the start of the season, whereas teams like take the Bucks now for example. At the minute, they've got a really good balance on offense and defense, and for years the Cowboys have either had a really good offense and a really poor defense, or a really poor defense. Sorry, really good defense and a really poor offense. And it seems like we're getting back to that way. We had this great offense for a couple of years, and it's kind of slipping away a little bit, and the defense is now coming back a little bit. It's just we can't seem to find this consistency, and you can't win. And we win a championship with such a heavy, lopsided mismatch on one side of the ball.
Definitely. The other thing they need is, like I said, they need the athleticism. They don't just need big guys. Part of the reason that everyone was shocked with Dallas's line and how the offense in 2016 was they were big guys, but they could move, they would shift, and they would set the edge, and it gave them the flexibility to run, like I said before, be it zone or be it in the gap and playing man. They don't have that now. They're trying to play a similar way, but it doesn't work because they don't have the personnel for it, and they don't know which they're trying to be. They haven't managed to figure that out yet. So if they want to keep that the same, to give them success, like they have had when they've blown people out of the water, then they need to have the personnel there so that they can beat the better teams. So you need to invest in the O-line. Now, going back to Kellen Moore again, because this is something I've been sat here and I've been thinking while you guys have been going, Brian made a great point. I said earlier I was on the fence. I'm kind of probably, if I'm honest, leaning more towards maybe it's time for him to go. Maybe, hopefully he gets a job rather than he's let go, because I don't want to see a guy not have a job. But I do think we need to move on, purely because if a guy is not putting people in position, he's been here a couple of years now, he's not put people in position to make success. He is unwilling to adapt. He wants to do things his way. He is being stubborn with it. The guy is not self-aware enough to do that, and he's also not self-aware enough, like you said, Brian, to know that he needs to get that in order before he can realistically go and be a head coach. Like, I'm not being funny, but I don't understand why he's having, at the end of the season, so many head coaching opportunities here. Teams must be really desperate, because at the start of the season, he was looking really good. As the season's gone on, not that great.
Do you know, we were touching on it before we came on air, Now, and I don't know if this is just as fans looking into this a little bit more, but does it scream volumes and worry a little bit that a lot of the defensive players come out and was like, look, we don't want Dan Quinn to go. He's going to get his opportunities, but we'd love to see him stay. He's a great personal one-to-one guy kind of thing, and it gives a lot of confidence. But and quote me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen one person on the offense come out and say we want Kellen Moore to stay.
No, and I agree. I think you need to, by hook or by crook, keep Dan Quinn. And I think that is, my gut tells me it's going to be easier than what we maybe think, because he knows he's got a good thing here. He went and was a head coach, and it didn't work out for him. He's taken a step back for a reason. 1 year, I don't think, is enough time away from it. And I would be surprised if there aren't suggestions / conversations of, well, realistically, if next year's not that great, the defense has shown it's good. Next year, we're expecting the defense to be good again, as long as we can manage the free agency side of things. But there are people on that list who are free agents who haven't been amazing, haven't made this defense what it is this year. They haven't been the massive, impactful players. Some of them are, but not all of them. So you can probably manage that with some restructures. I wouldn't be surprised if there's conversations to the effect of, well, realistically, if this team doesn't get it done again next year to a decent level, then Mike McCarthy's possibly gone, and you can potentially be a head coach here where you like everyone. You're not stepping into a brand new situation, and you can do whatever the hell you want. If you want to be the head coach, but stay as a coordinator and still coordinate the defense, do what you want. Jerry Jones is crazy like that.
I think the only thing that worries me is that he's got ties. I think he's got links to the Broncos front office personnel. So that would be
He does.
That would worry me. And I think a lot of people have touched on it. I think the only way we can see Dan Quinn probably staying is if Jerry says, you know what, we're going to have to let you go, Mike. It's one of them, like saying it, because you can't keep everybody, can you? Especially with some of the jobs that come available, and he's not going to want to stay a defensive coordinator for the rest of his life, is he? But it's like,
I don't see Jerry letting Dan Quinn go. If I'm being frank, I don't let him see
Jerry will
him
get the checkbook open.
Jerry will get that checkbook wide open.
I hope he does.
Yeah.
But then you flick on then think, I say we touched a little bit earlier on, but then who do you bring in? Do you look at maybe someone like a Mike Zimmer?
As defensive coordinator?
Or do you promote from within?
I would
don't think
no
you promote
problem
from
bringing
within.
Mike Zimmer in.
I would bring someone external in.
Yeah. But look, I think we've kind of finished with the offensive line. Rich, you wanted to talk about Dak Prescott, and you wanted to talk about the difference between man and zone coverage and the pressure he was getting on that. So if you want to take that away.
Yeah, so one more thing I just want to cycle back to something that came back to me when you said at the top in terms of Trayvon Diggs, in terms of whether you want someone who's there, who's a bullhawk, who's getting loads of picks, 10 plus picks, or if you want a lockdown corner, because obviously he's getting slated for what he allows. If this team has a good run game, you want the person that gets you lots of picks, because he will get you picks, he will get them off the field, you then get more time of possession, and you keep them off the field, because you have a good run game, you can chew up clock, you can eventually score, and the game gets away from them. You don't physically give them the time to do it. So I personally, in that situation, would take Trayvon Diggs. In terms of Dak, obviously there's been lots of conversations on Twitter today that I've been having with people in terms of how he's played. Now, yes, there are problems there. Yes, he has struggled against zone coverage, but that's not necessarily because he's not elite and because he's just flat out not good against zone coverage. I think it was DJ Dog made a comment earlier. You can be the best quarterback in the league if your O-line is crap and you can't wait long enough to be able to have a chance to pick apart the zones and to wait for people to come open, it's never going to happen. A la Kansas City getting pulled apart by Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. That's a problem. The offensive line is a big problem. It really is. It affects everything. It affects the defense. It affects Dak passing. It affects Dak passing the ball off to run the ball. It affects absolutely everything. It's a multifaceted situation. Everyone loves to make the point of the quarterback's the one at fault because he's the leader and he's the person who touches the ball the most. Well, there's one other person on the team that touches the ball just as much as Dak Prescott, and that's the center. And he plays on the offensive line.
Every snap.
Every single snap, apart from when the long snap is playing. But he plays the same as the quarterback. But Dak's is not massively terrible against the zone. This is some myth that's now started to come out. They were good. The zone was good against Dallas's offense this season. 1, because they didn't adapt. 2, they couldn't adapt because they can't run the ball. And 3, they can't protect Dak Prescott. So all they had to do to contain the run and put pressure on him was put 4 people up, and you can drop everyone else. Simple. And then if they do get someone come free on a run play every now and again, you've got your linebackers and your safeties coming up there. Because probably you're coming out of quarters and you're playing options there. It's not hard to see. He's not insane. It's not a case of Dak is crap. He's crap against the zone. The team has been bad against the zone because there is problems inherently with the team. Now, Dak is not absolved of all guilt at all. He has missed throws. He has underperformed. Yeah, he has things that he needs to work on. But if we're going to apportion blame ultimately here, let's do it fairly. Let's do it evenly. Let's do it sensibly. Let's not go for the low-hanging fruit of pile it all on Dak Prescott. Let's not even go for the whole thing of let's pile it all on the O-line. Because there's problems with Dak. There's problems with Amari Cooper. There's problems with CeeDee Lamb. There's problems with availability with your tight ends. There's problems with your running backs. There's problems with your offensive coordinator. There's problems all over that side of the ball.
No, it's just baffling. Like I said, I don't know if there's just still a little bit as well with the coming back from the all injury thing, and like saying just if it's just kind of that mental self-confidence kind of thing. It's like I say, just maybe because of the patched up all line, like you say that sometimes, yeah, he's a little bit erratic. Now is that just for the fact that this offensive line just collapses so easily that, like you say,
it does. You look at
develop a bit more. Like you say, when he first got into the team, that offensive line was still one of the best in the league. And
it was damn good. That offensive line that year was, make no mistake, that was damn good. They ran over everyone in this league, bar the New York Giants, which I still can't wrap my head around. And I'm not just saying that because it's the Giants. I genuinely can't understand how they couldn't run over them. But anyway, they ran over near enough everyone in this league, apart from them.
Definitely, as Alex, it's
a good line. They were physical up front. They dominated at every facet. They were the best, or one of, if not the best, I think, in the red zone in terms of physically scoring points and converting on third downs. They weren't even getting. It got to a point where their third down conversion rate was lower than other teams because they weren't even getting to third down because they only needed 2. They wasn't even getting that far. That's a crazy stat in itself, for goodness sake, or just a crazy thing to consider. But when you look at everything in terms of not so much apportioning blame, but seeing what needs fixing on this team, specifically on the offensive side of things, the biggest thing in this is the offensive line. You've got 2 good running backs. You've got a host of good wide receivers. You may lose one. You've still got a load of other good ones. Cedric Wilson has proven you don't need to worry about that necessarily as much. You've got a good tight end, at least one. The other one, hopefully Jarman can stay healthy and we can keep both of them. If not, okay, it is what it is. We'll probably get another one in the draft at some point later on in the rounds.
Yeah.
Blocking money.
And you do have a good quarterback.
Yep.
You do have a good quarterback. He is able to do it. The team has shown when they run the ball, they're able to control people. They can absolutely rip teams apart. But the reason they can't do that against the good teams is because they're not winning up front. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And
just to add, Jamie, I'm just going to jump in here. This is Andy Robinson, who is from the UK Giants, saying these things here, right? He's saying how much of a pain in the arse Dak Prescott is to play against. And 15 other teams in this league would take him. Absolutely, they would, Andy. And look, as we say, we're a podcast for everyone, and it's great to see Andy is joining in with us from the UK Giants. But Jamie, take it away.
Even though he sucks.
No, I was just saying, and to be fair with Dak, we pretty much got a steal fourth round, and he only went in the fourth round because he got a DUI.
Yeah,
and that's
this is the thing.
He would have been long gone.
If some people get their wish, and Dak is traded, he's put out on the trade market, he's cut, whatever. He's not getting out of the division.
No.
The Giants will have him. Washington will have him. Philly will have him.
Mm.
Philly will do whatever it takes to get him.
Yeah.
Fact.
Yeah.
And even if you flip it on the other way, and if Dak has been awful every single year he's been in the league, Jerry's gonna milk it. And what I mean by that is, everybody knows how much Jerry Jones loved Tony Romo. If Jerry would have had his way when Romo came back from his injury, Jerry would have probably put Tony straight back in the starting lineup, even though we were 9-1 when Tony came back.
Yep.
There's no way he's going to give up this quick on Dak Prescott after, do you know what I mean? Like I said, he kind of had to, I don't know if this was maybe Garrett finally putting his foot down and saying, no, look, we're on a hot streak here. Dak has to be the quarterback. And I don't think anybody's disagreeing there. As much as I love Tony Romo, he's my favourite all-time Cowboy. But Dak had to stay under centre. He was the hot hand. But Jerry's now not going to flip it and go, well, do you know what? I've just given this big contract. I'm going to eat the salary cap hit, and let's go get another quarterback. Because then essentially, you're going out and getting a rookie. And what's a rookie really going to do? You have to go out. If you want to keep this window going, you've got to go out and you've got to go trade for a veteran. But then what decent veterans are going to be available?
Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that's going to cost you an absolute bomb. It's going to cost you at least 2 first-round picks, and it's probably going to cost you more than 2 first-round picks, to be fair.
That is salary cap hell.
Yeah.
You have to take their contract, so you're not going to give up first-round picks. But look, we're an hour and 20 minutes into it, and what the next biggest talking point out of this game was running back. And again, I got into a rouse with people from PFF, and my phone is still being blown up with comments I made. And what has come out since, obviously, Zeke has said he played with a PCL injury, and people are giving out about Tony Pollard and why didn't he get more touches. And I get it. But people calling for and saying Tony Pollard must be the running back one for the Dallas Cowboys next year are off the frickin' wall. Tony Pollard has never been a running back, a number one running back in high school, in college. So how does anyone expect him to be in running back one at NFL level? He's not a bell cow.
Tony Pollard is a change of pace. Nice compliment to Zeke, who's that kind of more power back, more I'll run up the middle and I'll take defenders with me. There's not a chance, and this is no disrespect to Tony Pollard. The Cowboys could not legitimately have, I don't think, a dominating run game with Tony Pollard as number one running back. And that's no disrespect to Tony. I like Tony Pollard. I was pleased when we picked him up, but he's just not. He's not that kind of running back. Like you say, Brian, he's never been a starting running back. So why then all of a sudden start lumping him with 20, 25 carries a game?
Yeah.
When he's not built for that kind of dynamic running game. He's more of a change of pace when the defenses are tired and that change of pace to bounce it on the outside. You can't rely on him to run it up the middle like Zeke does every week.
There you go. Alex has nailed it. Tony Pollard is a weapon. He has proved he is a weapon, and he's not been utilized correctly. He needs more snaps. Whether Zeke is healthy or not, he needs more snaps. If you start utilizing that 1-2 punch properly, back in 2016, it was very much a war of attrition. They would go up against the number 1 ranked running defense in the league, and they would run all over them because it would get to halfway through the third quarter, the end of the third quarter. Even the best ones, I think it was the Vikings at the time, start of the fourth quarter, they started to fall apart because they were gassed. Because all they had every time running down their throat was Zeke, and they were getting manhandled at the line of scrimmage because they were getting smashed. You can potentially start having results sooner because people are committing against the run. They're expecting Zeke, and you give them Pollard. And they're already tired. They're already not going to be able to run as well. When your defense is out on the field, drive after drive, snap after snap, getting punched in the goddamn face, and they're not ready for the quick, zippy guy coming around. It's going to go, and it's going to go to the house. So he may look better, but Tony Pollard cannot block as well as Zeke. Not in a million years, and that is why Zeke was still out there. And even Zeke, with a partially torn PCL, pulled off, in the worst game of the year, pulled off a double block.
We utilised it years ago perfectly. We had that Marion Barber and Felix Jones 1-2 punch. We've got it again, and we haven't, like you're saying, is it just that Kellen Moore's fallen lucky and now he's been found out when the kind of chips are down and the offensive line isn't to the standard that we've been used to, and now he's getting found out a little bit more. But that running game's I don't think it's been utilised perfectly. And we slag off that we put a 50 burger upon the Eagles, but it was working a little bit. I say that the third and fourth running backs were getting touches, getting meaningful plays, and then all of a sudden it just goes to shit when it's the biggest game of the season, and we just, they say, you can't establish the run, so you can't get good field position. You're not relieving pressure on Dak. It's just that. Yeah, but I just can't see why people would.
Yep, it's everything.
I'm just going to pull up 2 comments here. So again, Andy from the UK Giants, right, makes a great point. We're successful because the team's game plan for Zeke. Ditch Zeke, you're going to get found out fast. And Alex makes a point here. Pollard isn't Pollard without Zeke. He disagrees. I disagree with you, Alex, because, Pollard isn't Pollard without Zeke. But saying we can't get another big back to do that, we can. But we're not going to be able to trade away from Zeke. It's a contract that is toxic that you can't get out of. But that's not to say, and this is the kind of point I wanted to make, was if Zeke goes down, Tony still can't be a running back 1. You still need a running back who can be a bell cow to allow Pollard to do what he does. Because for me, we're not playing enough 20-man personnel with the 2 running backs in the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
And teams going, oh crap, they're both there. What's going to happen? And that's where things are going to. They're going to need to change.
As much as we don't like to talk about them, look at one team that I say pulled it off perfectly because the record doesn't show that. But the Eagles, plenty of times they played with 2 running backs either side.
3 or 4.
And Hurts. And it worked out perfectly. Teams could not defend it.
Yeah, so the big thing with Zeke, obviously, is the big difference that he brings, which is why he was drafted so high. and we've mentioned, is the blocking. We've covered the fact excessively, I think it's fair to say, that your offensive line is crap. It's not as good at blocking.
Mm-hmm.
That heightens the value on Zeke's blocking abilities. There have been multiple times over the last few seasons that Zeke has well and truly saved Dak's bacon in multiple games across multiple seasons. There's multiple you can think of, irrespective of the game last Sunday.
Sunday and the game against the Cardinals.
If you do invest in the offensive line, then you can start to have conversations of, does that then free us up to give more snaps to Pollard? Or at least it changes what you can do when you have two running backs on the field, because you're not necessarily sitting there saying your offensive line is not that great. You got two running backs in there. Zeke is blocking. Pollard's the one we need to be watching.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you more options because you can run either of them. And if you can go left or right as well, if you shore the whole lineup, it's even better. Even if it's just a case of you just smash with Zeke for a half, and then you start mixing in Pollard, and then by the time you get to the end of the second half, the tail end of the fourth quarter, Pollard is getting more carries because everyone is gassed and he's just burning everyone. It's exactly the same concept of having fresh legs on the field as you do with your rotation up front on the defensive line when you're playing a 4-3, because that you focus on keeping fresh legs on the field as much as you can. It's exactly the same concept. It does exactly the same thing.
And then it frees up to be a bit more creative. And I mean, in terms of look what the Niners do with Debo, and they put him in the backfield, or at least sweep him across. And it, like you said, it causes more confusion.
This is the thing, and it opens up everything else even more, because not only then you're probably forcing people then to start playing, if they are playing zone, to start playing cover 2 as opposed to cover 3, which makes things easier for you to send people deep when you want to do the flashy stuff or get stuff. Go for the higher options if you're doing the old school kind of stuff where you used to have someone come underneath and then you used to have Jason Witten over the top. You can go more for the longer options than the short ones just to move the sticks and get a few more things going. Because people have to worry about a running back on either side because they don't have to block. They can run. They're free to run and do whatever the hell you want them to do. But Zeke will continue to be valued highly, and rightly so, for his blocking abilities until you sort out this line. But he showed at the start of the season, before he tore that PCL, he was moving pretty damn good. He was looking like 2016 Zeke again. So if you sort that out, you sort the line out, and Zeke can stay healthy, that's exactly what you're going to have. You're going to have two really good running backs on this team that are able to make goddamn plays. And you're still going to have your wide receivers.
To say you were injured, he still broke 1,000 yards.
And he still broke 1,000 yards, and he's still double blocking mofos. It's like, come on, Zeke is not terrible. It's ridiculous. I get the, not so much knee-jerk reaction, but I get the want of people to look at a team and say, you were bad, off.
Yeah.
But these things are very multifaceted, and you need to look deeper than just, you weren't that great. Oh, he's better than you. Why are we not maybe doing that?
Yeah. And this is my argument with a lot of people that now pay so much attention to analytics and PFF and this kind of bull is what I'll call it, because stats are stats. They're great, but in American football, it's based on a lot of, as you said, Rich, a minute ago, multifaceted. It's based on your offensive line being dominant. If your offensive line is not dominant, you can't open up things. You can't have that 1,000 or 1,600 yard rusher if your O-line is getting pushed back. Yeah. You can't have... you then, if you do end up getting the O-line fixed and having a 16-yard, 100-yard rusher, you're then not going to have 1,000-yard receivers because that's not your game. And this is where PFF and fantasy football have ruined a lot of things in American football. Is that all they want to talk about is stats and numbers, and not look at the actual game itself.
Yeah,
I got into a
stats
row. I got into a row with someone on Twitter about the fact if Zeke hadn't been there for the double block that he picked up, Dak was dead. Dak could have been killed because there was two guys coming straight for him.
He would have been
two
knocked
guys
flat.
coming from in the Cardinals game. He would have had a huge sack in that game. And those things don't appear on a stat sheet for a running back. But they add value to me, in my eyes. But there you go. Rant over.
Do you know what I mean? And we can flip it. And if people go back and watch the last episode that we had Brad Sham on, and there was a lot of discussion around DeMarcus Lawrence, and I know it's different side of the ball, but everyone was like, he's getting all this money, he's not getting sacks. And yeah, and I think a lot of us on this show were guilty of doing that ourselves. But when then you get someone that kind of gives you a bit of a slap and says, look, actually, you know what, look at it a different way. Yeah, it's nice to get these stats of all these sacks because that's what you essentially think a defensive end should be. But look at what then DeMarcus Lawrence also brings. Pressure on the quarterback. How many times he gets double teamed, how many times he hits the QB, how many times he causes a stir in the offensive line. So it's all these different things, and like you say, and then it works out exactly the same with running back. Running back, you expect him to run 1,500, 1,600 yards a season and get 10, 15, 20 touchdowns. But look at like Richard, like you say, the double block he made the other day. That's not the first time Zeke's done that. Look at how many times teams have had to load the box because they're worried about Zeke being an absolute force running up the middle through the gaps, and it's freed up a wide receiver or a tight end, or the other way when you've sometimes you've had him in the slot every now and again, and just teams can't cover it, and that's what it is. It's that dynamic that teams struggle to plan with it, and like I said, the stats don't show that, and sometimes you've got to look at the wider picture of what Zeke kind of is, and I know he's kind of writing on about what we did the other week. Yeah, there were a few running backs that rushed for a lot more than Zeke, but if you look at the running backs, I think was Zeke was it the 8th or the 10th highest rusher this year of the 8-9 running backs that finished above him. I think there was only 2 who weren't there was only 2 that weren't the focal point of their offense. Yeah. Everybody else that rushed for more yards than Zeke this year were all focal points of their team, of what their offense does. And that's not now. Yeah, the first few seasons of Zeke, that's what it was. This was a running back team. Sorry, our run first team, should I say? That's not what we are now. We've got still arguably top 5, top 6 running back in the league. We've now got. Well, we're probably going to lose one of them, but if you still count the season, we've got 3 wide receivers that could arguably be wide receiver 1 on any other team in this league. Not a lot of teams have got that kind of luxury.
Yeah, the problem that Kellen Moore has had, I think, is that he's recognized the fact that this team doesn't have the skills and the players to be a run-first team and be as dominant as they were. But he hasn't acknowledged the fact that those same players also aren't good enough to pass protect for him to play out the scheme that he wants them to, which is a lot more down the field, flashy plays, instead of going down in 12, 14 plays, doing it in 6.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. And then, like I said earlier, he hasn't adapted. This team has the very, very strong potential, and they've shown it this year. They have potential to be a better version of 2016. This is the best offensive season we've had since 2016. There is only one facet of the offense that isn't as good as that 2016 if you put them side by side. Dak is better. He's better than he was as a rookie. He came out as a rookie. Part of the reason he lit things up was because he's instinctual. He's still that instinctual player. If you put him and everyone else in the position to succeed. You protect him, let him make his instinctual plays, be it passing the ball off, be it making quick passes. He'll do it. Your tight ends are good. Dalton Schultz has proven that he's actually really good. He's not as good a blocker as Jason Witten, but he's still a damn good tight end. Your running back room is better. Your wide receiver room is 100% better. There's only one aspect of that that's not as good as 2016, and it's the O-line.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't hard to see. And then when you realize, when you understand, and I know we're harping on about this for like over an hour and a half, or coming up on an hour and a half, but it really does affect everything else. Because if you can run the ball and control the clock, which is what they did in 2016, they kept people off the field. And that was the game plan against Aaron Rodgers that they nearly managed to execute, was keeping him off the field, running the ball, keeping their offense off the field, keeping their defense on the field, keeping them honest.
Just to kind of throw another bit out there, just because I've just been looking at the news, just keep an eye on things for Seattle now, because Seattle have just let Ken Norton Jr. go. So
interesting. Interesting.
It's many roundabouts. I know it's not Cowboy.
Yeah. He's still a former Cowboy.
Yeah.
But it's just a point I want to pull up here from Alex. And Alex, I don't remember you being in the show, so it's great with all the interaction that you've been putting in with us. Is losing the amount of players we're going to be losing a blessing in disguise. We are going to be rolling on with the show through off season, and we will be discussing the amount of guys that will be leaving, and we'll do an offensive side and defensive side. We look at position groups, and we will be discussing those in more details. So it's not that we're ignoring them tonight, but we will be discussing them in the future. And again, Andy, it's great. All the interaction you're having with us, absolutely loved it. He would say Zeke is a top 3 running back based on catching ability. So there you go. As we say, guys, Andy is from the UK Giants, and this is his perspective on things. So when an opposition fan is telling you stuff like this, maybe have a listen to what they think.
There's one there from Joe as well.
Yeah, and Jerry has just posted that McCarthy isn't going anywhere, and I don't think any of us would be surprised at that.
No, I think he's got at least one season in him, and I think that's entirely reasonable. I do think he needs to get not overly involved, but I do think he needs to get more involved next season. The main thing I want to see from him next season is lighting a fire under everyone's ass, upholding discipline, which he's done a fairly decent job of, but I think he needs to push further and getting everyone to acknowledge what they actually want to achieve. I want to see people, and I'd say people pretty much Dak and maybe one other person standing up, doing press conferences, and that's it. There's been a lot of press conferences this season from a lot of people, and I don't like it. There's too much focus, I think, on winning games week in, week out, rather than it just being a tick box exercise of. And I was listening to Talking Cowboys earlier today, and they were saying, when you stand up and you see Aaron Rodgers doing a press conference, boring. Because he goes in and go, we won, cool, on to the next thing. Pretty much it, because that's what you need. Your focus your achievement isn't winning as many of the 17 games as you can. It's to get you into the off season to then put you in a position to do the good stuff. There's too much focus on what happens weekly with the Cowboys.
Like you say, you look at the stats, and they've thrown for all these yards, and they've rushed for all these yards, and all these interceptions, and we finished 12-5, and we finished 6-0 in NFCs. But end of the day, the season was still a failure. The aim is to win the Super Bowl. We weren't good enough. The season was a failure. As much as we've been on this up and down roller coaster, it's a failure because we haven't won the Super Bowl. You don't play this game to let's get as far as we can this year and build on that and go. You win. You play. You win. You play to win the Super Bowl. It was a failure. It's been a failure for 25 years. as much as it's good to watch, it's essentially that's what it is. It's a failure, and that happens to 31 other teams every season.
And Jamie, I think this is probably the crux of a lot of people's. I don't know if it's apathy or, as you say, that it's 25 years of failure or whatever like that. But there's no consistency season to season. And look, we started reasonably hot last season. Dak went down and season is written off. But I think under Dak we've gone 13-3. We've had a couple of up and down seasons. We've gone 12-5. For me, what I want to see out of next season is another 12-5 season or better. And when NFC East title is a minimum next season for me, I want to see 12-5, 13-4, 14-3, and an NFC championship game. That shows that this team is actually serious. Because for too long, the NFC East has gone, Cowboys win it, Giants win it, that team wins it. Cowboys win it again, then the team with no name wins it. And there's no one dominating the East. And that's where we need to start with, is dominate the East, start winning playoff games, and start consistently getting to NFC championship games. Otherwise, it's bull.
For me, if they don't make the NFC championship game next year, then it's not been an improvement. I'm not saying that they'll win it, but if they don't get to the NFC championship game, it's not been an improvement.
Bring back that comment. The one before that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's when you know fans are sick of Kellen Moore, because everyone could not wait to get rid of Jason Garrett, and now they want him back.
Yeah, but again, Jason Garrett as an offensive coordinator.
Oh yeah, great offensive
tidy. Dan Quinn as a defensive coordinator, very tidy. Dan Quinn as a head coach, didn't work out that great.
Yeah.
Jason Garrett as a head coach, didn't work out that great. But the players always fought for Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett was part of the reason the Cowboys went 8-8.
We had to put up with it for 10 years, Andy.
I know it sounds weird and it's mad, but you know what? I actually don't think it would be that bad a thing. I really don't. I don't. I think it would be better than Kellen Moore, because he would adjust and the players would play for him and they would fight and there would be discipline. He'd have discipline. Yeah. And that is what's lacking. One thing, a big thing that's lacking.
We would have to deal with this all season.
There would be a lot of clapping.
Yeah. Just before we, as I say, we're now 45 minutes into the show and we haven't even touched the defense yet. But this is something that kind of needs to be looked at in terms of what about our tight ends? One of them always seems to be injured.
Yep.
Dalton Schultz is no longer a Dallas Cowboy. Dalton Schultz is now a free agent. Blake Jarwin has spent much of the last 2 years injured. And I had a look yesterday. So I think to get out of our Blake Jarwin's contract, it'll cost us $2 million dead cap, but it'll save us $4.25 million in cap savings. So would you guys keep Jarwin and hope that you can re-sign Schultz on a similar kind of a deal, or what would you do with the tight end room?
I'm trying.
You have bigger problems than tight end. You signed Dalton Schultz because he's proved himself, and he has a good connection with your quarterback, even when this team has been playing terrible. So logic would dictate, if you boost the offensive line, you boost that performance, he will be even better. Re-sign Schultz. I think he's one of the ones that you really have to do.
Yeah.
Especially on offense. And you keep Jarwin, because it shouldn't be hard to keep him.
Yeah. Well,
realistically, you draft another tight end.
Jarwin is under contract anyway. So
exactly.
He's staying. So it's whether you turn around and sign Schultz. Simple. I mean, if I look at the offensive guys, I have the free agents open here. Just give me 1 second. So our offensive free agents are Connor Williams, Tynan Seki, Corey Clement, Mitch Hyatt, Dalton Schultz. Then your wide receivers, you've Cedric Wilson, Noah Brown, Michael Gallup, and Malik Turner.
Cedric Wilson, the only one I would bring back.
Yeah.
Cedric Wilson has to.
Yeah. I mean,
personally, Cedric Wilson has to.
Yeah, that's your offensive guys that are free agents. I mean, for me, Schultz is the obvious name that comes back. And then, as you guys say, Cedric Wilson, he's proven he can be a wide receiver 3.
And just quickly for it, don't take out drafting a wide receiver in the first round this year as well. Just for the fact that we're at 24.
They can't.
And we're in the lap
They can't afford to. You're going to have another weapon. You're going to have another weapon on the field that you can't get the ball to as much because your offensive line is shit. Realistically, they have to maintain the status quo as much as they can on defense. For everyone else on offense, they probably need to do the same thing. The one area that they need to improve on the most is the offensive line. You also need to improve your defensive line. You need to improve the linebacker, and depending on what happens in free agency, you may also have to address your secondary. But you're already looking at having to put at least a top-tier pick, potentially having to trade up to address your offensive line. Realistically, you need another way to address that as well. So hopefully you're going to be able to have a second-round pick or a late first-round pick there, or you're getting someone in free agency who is worth getting in free agency.
Oh, yeah. But what I mean is if you can't get out of that 24 spot,
then go back.
You essentially go best player available. You might not have no choice if you can't move up or you can't move back. You might not have no choice but to take away.
They can't afford to. They can't afford to. The way this team is, and I am all for drafting the best player available at a position of need. I'm all for it, but they really can't afford to go something crazy like they did with Lamb again.
No, I totally agree, but I just think I wouldn't rule it out just for the fact that they may be snookered into not being able to move back, and the best player on their board at that time is a wide receiver.
But that's my point. Is you don't even need to think about that because realistically, you need to be moving up. That's simple. You need to address that line. You need to minimize risk. For that, you need to move up.
I'm going to throw
only because I saw it on Twitter earlier. Would you package up 24 and Amari Cooper to move up to 10 where the Jets are and take
Keep Amari.
No.
Just because
maintain the status quo.
Yeah, that's all. No. I thought I'd bring it up tonight to see what people thought.
I'm going to throw it another way, Jamie, and you kind of stole my thunder. If you could trade your first round pick,
you're going to say
for no, Gallup's free agent. We can't.
No, I know, but it just harkens back to last season where everyone was like, "Oh, should we trade Gallup?"
If we could trade pick 24 for an established right tackle that's playing in the NFL right now, you can move La'el Collins back to left guard. Would you do it?
No. If you said centre, not for a right guard, not for a right tackle. No. I would for a centre.
Why not? Like,
who are you thinking?
Because I would be happy going into the season next year with Terrence Steele at right tackle. I would. That's the reason, because I say because he's shown that he can play at a decent level. So if you were saying trade it for a centre, then but not for a right tackle.
So what centre are you going after then, Jamie?
You could pretty much name 31 other centres because they're still better than our centre. Yeah,
and that's fair. And I mean, this is why, like as I say, I was on the Linderbaum train at the start of before preseason. That was the guy I wanted. I think he's going to be gone by the time we get there.
He's going to be gone. He's going to be top 15. If you look at the stuff,
he's going to be top 10.
He's probably. I think they're saying he's the second highest rated lineman in the draft.
Only Evan Neal is ahead of him.
Remind me what we did to get Travis Frederick.
We moved back, didn't we, to 32?
We moved back to 31.
Sorry, 31.
picked up a third rounder,
Hmm.
and that third rounder turned into Terrence Williams.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that wasn't a bad draft. That wasn't a bad trade there because he was pretty decent.
Yeah.
The stint was Terrence Williams.
Yeah. But look, we're now 50 minutes into it. Is there anything else you want to talk about offensively?
No.
No. Okay. So let's flip it over and let's talk. Let's talk defense, guys. I mean, apart from getting punched in the mouth on the first drive, this defense did a reasonable job.
This
It was reasonable.
Season, to be fair. The stats don't show how well this defense played.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing I noticed, and I think a certain young man has learned a very valuable lesson in discipline and not getting ahead of yourself, is Micah Parsons.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, he was definitely not himself.
Yeah.
Whether it's COVID, whether it's not, whether it's... I don't think it's the bright lights, personally. He just looked like he was struggling and he didn't know what to do. And I think he suddenly realized that, I really shouldn't have gone to that game. I've seen too many times in American football, in rugby, in swimming, in lots of stuff, people going out, doing things they shouldn't have done and regretting it later on because they didn't continue what they were doing. They made a bad choice. Now, people are always going to do that, but I think Micah has learned a valuable lesson. That defense would have been better if Micah had been able to go more. Even then would have had more of an impact after Bosa went out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, that defense still did not play up to scratch. It reminded me of 3 years ago when they went up against the Rams and they didn't seem to want it as much as they had beforehand. And they seemed to be riding on laurels. I think it was a bit more they got manhandled this time.
Yeah.
And definitely outsmarted.
Yep.
But generally, yeah, I think it's fair to say they were pretty decent.
Yeah. Like, I mean, 23 points in a playoff game. And let's be honest, right? As we say, yeah, they got punched in the mouth on the first drive. Restricted the offense to 3 field goals in the rest of the first half. And the second touchdown was as a result of the offense having an interception.
They were, picks aside, they were exactly what we wanted from the start of the season. From this time last year, all we wanted was a reasonable defense. And they were that. They were that. They have potential to get better. There are places to improve, one of which being probably the main one still, the run defense.
Yeah.
But that was a marked improvement, and they got to ultimately where we wanted them to be.
Yeah. Jamie, thoughts?
Yeah. As a collective, I don't think the stats really show how much this defense improved this year. Yeah, the interceptions were nice, but I think the biggest improvement came on that front four. That front four was fantastic this year. They were great to watch, and it's not. I mean, just in terms of there wasn't just one standout, and it wasn't selfish, and it wasn't all about me and my stats. Like you say, D-Law stepped up. Diggy Zua had a great season.
Diggy Zua had a decent game.
Randy Gregory showed
he made some mistakes for the second time this season.
Yeah,
why the Cowboys risked it all and took him with that second round pick all those years ago. Chauncey Golston, he didn't see the field a lot, but he played all right. And then you look at a lot of the backups, so people like Urban played all right.
Basham and Watkins added something.
Yep.
Yeah,
The main
Gallimore.
thing with the defense is one of the biggest problems with the offensive line is discipline. Pre-snap and post-snap penalties. But the pre-snap ones never need to happen. It's Randy Gregory did have, obviously he dropped he laid a few eggs. He had some snags. Like I said, for the second time. But that stands out a lot because for the rest of the season, Randy Gregory's been pretty good and pretty reliable and pretty solid. I think he's only going to continue to get better.
Yeah.
But that line needs discipline. And they need another good, new, modern linebacker in there. And they need help up front. They need someone else big to help against the run.
I'm going to make a prediction for the draft. I'm not going to be surprised if we draft a linebacker at 24 this season.
No,
I wouldn't be surprised. I'll be upset, but I won't be surprised.
Yeah.
I would like to, as much as the inside of that front four played all right, I still stand by that this team, since you could maybe say the 90s, or you could even maybe say the early part of the 2000s, badly missed a nasty, mean run stuffer, like an Aaron Donald type, like an Ndamukong Suh when he first came to the league. We haven't had them since what? Mid to late 90s, early 2000s. And I just think that would be the cherry on the top for how that front four has transformed, and just to get one of those in that's just that mean, nasty kind of, like say, just a run stuffer, and that'll take a lot of pressure off the outside guys, or say a lot of the pressure in terms of their blocking schemes. They'll be able, they'll have more opportunities to get through. It'll free the linebackers up a little bit more. So that is the one in this draft. I don't know, because you're not going to be able. You're not going to get an Aaron Donald type of player off of a team for 24. You're going to have to find him in the draft. I don't think he's there at 24, but
just a bit of breaking news that I got in there as an alert. So the Vikings and the Dolphins are the next two teams up for Kellen Moore to interview with. So
I can't see him getting either of them jobs.
I could see him in Minnesota. I really could. I could also see him in Florida with the Dolphins.
I was thinking more Jacksonville would probably be the perfect one.
I know Jacksonville are a basket case.
That's what I mean. He can stamp his own. The only thing, like say, the Vikings, to be fair, for me, the Vikings this season were a little bit like the Colts. Got a well-rounded team, just got a poor quarterback. Yeah. Give them a decent quarterback, they would have gone far in the playoffs. So that's why I don't know if Kellen Moore will be ready to step up into that role.
Another team that would take Dak Prescott, give him the chance. Just saying.
What are we getting in return?
Fucking hell, it ain't happening, son.
Brett Favre's quarterback coach.
It ain't happening, Soz. It ain't happening.
Yeah. But looking at the defense on Sunday, swapping Flores for Moore, I'd be fuming as a Dolphins fan. So there is a name that hasn't been mentioned. Brian Flores is an offensive coordinator.
And I think he'll end up as an head coach. A coach doesn't. What was it? He won it 1-9, and then they went flat out at the end of the season. Yeah, I'm still surprised he got the sack.
I'm going to throw this out here, and I hope Andy Robinson is still with us. I think Brian Flores is going to end up in New York, and I would be disappointed if he was. Yeah.
Don't go giving them false hope.
But look, guys, 2 hours into the show, and I think it really is time to wrap it up because Mike is going to jump all over us for this, but I think Mike will understand. On Friday, Andy has just said it's most likely. There we go, Andy. I knew you'd come back to me. There you go. He's a New Yorker.
The only thing reliable about the New York Giants
is their unreliability. But Mike is back on Thursday evening at 9 o'clock here in the UK and Ireland. He bought that 4 o'clock on the East Coast, 3 Texas time, and 1 o'clock on the West Coast of America. It will be a fan rant show. There is no agenda for the show. So whatever you want to talk about, Mike and whoever is on the show with him will talk about those things. I'm pretty sure Graham Wilson will be on and will want to talk a lot of O-line. So get your thoughts in. And let us know what you think. But before we get out of here, as always, we do like to give a shout out to our sponsors. So
don't do it. Don't do it.
If one of you gentlemen would like to...
go on, Jamie. Well volunteered.
Oh, cheers, Rich. But yeah, if you are thinking of going out to see the Cowboys next year, get in touch with our good friends and sponsors, Cowboys Experience. There's quite a few in the group now that have been with them. You can get everything from packages to close hotels to game tickets, tailgating, meet and greet. But the meet and greets are with not just anybody. It's with current players. It's with cheerleaders. It is with legends such as the original 88 and Drew Pearson. They've had Charles Haley before. It's an absolutely unreal experience. And it's saying it costs us a lot this side of the pond to go watch them. So if you're going to do it right. And as you can see there, there's a discount code of UK Cowboys. So if you use that, what do you get, guys? If you use the discount code,
go on, Rich.
I'm not doing it. You guys do it for a change. Just kidding. Use the code. You get free stuff.
And you get chocolate pudding as well.
You may or may not get chocolate pudding. Which people may or may not get, depending on how long they follow this show.
Rich still has me alive eating a chocolate pudding after I checked.
Oh, shut up, Jamie.
No. You're not getting that, boy.
Rich, if you want to give our fellow content creators a shout out there.
I'm not even going to try to name them all, but yeah, Cowboys Experience 105.3, Hanging with the Boys, Cowboys Y'all, Slash Nation, Law Nation. My God, there's just everyone on there. Basically, all these guys, if you see them, Google them, find the links. KT Fun Tweets. Go follow them. They put out amazing content. We put out fairly crazy stuff. We're just the crazy guys this side of the pond. Those guys blinking out there, well connected, and they put out some really, really good stuff. We retweet a lot of their stuff for good reason, because they put out some really good stuff. It is time well spent and research well spent. You will learn a lot if you go and follow those guys and watch their content and read their content. Genuinely, if we didn't think it was worth it, they wouldn't be on there.
Yeah, I know you try to wrap this up, Brian, because I've just seen it. There's it includes Cowboys. It's just come out. The NBRA have condemned comments by Dak Prescott condoning violence against the game officials from the Cowboys fans of the weekend. As an NFL league, you should know better.
That is something I was trying to steer clear of, because it's something myself and Paul were chatting about this at 2 o'clock on Sunday night here in the UK and Ireland. Things like this and things like personal attacks on players and Neville Gallimore having to come out and ask people not to be blown up his family's Twitter. We do not condone that, folks. No, that's why we don't tend to talk about it, and we leave it to one side. It shouldn't happen.
Looking through, but it's not acceptable. It's awful. It's disgusting. They're not really fans if they're doing crap like that.
It's not in the spirit of game. It's not something we want to give any airtime to as a group of content creators. So that is why we don't talk about it. But as we say, Thursday night, 9 o'clock here in the UK and Ireland, 4 o'clock on the East Coast, 3 o'clock in Texas, and 1 o'clock on the West Coast, and 10 o'clock p.m. for those of you in Europe like Joe. But it's a good night from me, folks. I'll throw it over to the lads.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe. Here's to the playoffs on Sunday. Oh, wait.
Mm-hmm. I am now basically a very reluctant Bengals follower because my brother's team has gone further in the playoffs than us. That's depressing.
And in the words of our great friend and LSU Tigers fan Meg Murray, go Joe. Good night, folks.
Ta-da.